said that they are being,
Oh,
they're
wow.
cut, right?
Oh, I see. Because you've got the recording going for different meetings. And so you turn it off and turn it back on for this one?
Basically, it starts recording as soon as someone joins, but if I stop it, then it'll cut out everything till this point. But there's also the risk that I'll forget to turn it back on. So
It's a tough dynamic.
YouTube does, I mean, the way the process works, like, it doesn't have to work this way, but at least in this tag, we moved the videos over to YouTube. So it has functionality to edit. So I sometimes, tell it to cut the first few minutes out.
There you go.
Yeah,
Hey, Colin.
I'd be a video editor. Hey, Colin.
Yes. Get the small talk out of here.
No, it shows how chill we are and how much we like each other. It's very important.
Friendship.
I think people watching the video want to see this. That's what I've always seen. I'm like, let me at least get them to where they want to start from. I don't even know how many people watch the video.
Yeah, you can have like
Just-
a little label that says like small talk at the beginning, and they can just go and skip
Yeah.
that.
I think YouTube does these automatic chapter thing.
I don't know
Yeah,
if it's
if we say the word small talk enough, it
Uh,
should pick up on it.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I guess I don't really know how to delegate the YouTube stuff at this point, although I'd love to figure that out. But yeah, if somebody is passionate about putting in chapter markings and stuff, maybe we can figure that out.
Yes, so Josh, like if you have like the way YouTube work is like if you have slide and it's actually capturing your words and thoughts. If you have talking like a storytelling like conversation, that it can generate the timeline. Otherwise, it's not very heavy AI generative. So it has to be either a slide, either you're talking in a very timely manner. But if you don't talk like random talks, then it won't generate any timelines.
That's a good tip. I guess if I posted like a slide deck, maybe it would pick up transitions there. Huh. Like it would say intros when we start intros, and then each topic could somehow, I don't know, it's interesting. Yeah, all these good ideas, but it's hard to implement sometimes. Just trying to get by, get these meetings run. Maybe I should.
You're doing a great job, Josh. Well done.
Thank you. All right, well, we're at 4 minutes, so I pasted in the notes if people want to follow, or if you want to add any agenda items. Right now we'll start with intros. If there's anyone new, then maybe we'll discuss the prototype platform, which has come up a little in the Slack. I want to at least mention to you all the stuff about project annual reviews, and then the last thing in the list here is just a couple things to make sure people see. Yeah, so do we have anyone new today? I don't think so, unless anyone wants to.
One quick thing, we're trying to empower our team members to join these and the app delivery meetings and cartographers and some of the other stuff. Really kind of help me give some backup too. But we're trying to kind of let people know to try to observe and listen first and stuff like that. But you may see 4 or 5 folks from our group start to join in on these regularly, or we're trying to get them to help out.
Thank you, Colin. That's awesome. Maybe, I mean, one of the things I was thinking about for these intros is if probably not the first time you show up, but like maybe people want to tell the story of their platform or something, or of a customer's platform, anonymously or something. Because we've been, I was just thinking maybe in this intro, we could start asking people that, like, tell us your interest so we can, know where to plug you in, and consider telling us your story if you have one.
Exactly.
Yes, Josh. I think that's a good if that's a good idea if we can ask people to talk about story in a 5 to 10 minutes, not more than that. Otherwise, the whole call could become story lesson. But if that's the case, I am actually on this platform engineering Slack channel, and there are 12,000 folks there, and very good discussion happening. So I can post the link in there, and that's drive the conversation forward. That's one way to catch people. other than just join the call and start listening to us.
An interesting point. That's the platform engineering Slack from the platformengineering.org. You mean, is that what you mean, Saeem?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
That's the one of the, yes, that's the one of the Slack, but also there are also Slack channel, but that's not much oriented around platform engineering in general, but they still live in the domain of the platform engineering, like the smaller subset of the platforms.
The reason why I think this is worth just talking about for a second is I think we really want more user stories. We tried to run the survey to kind of help with that, and we're still trying to pursue that a bit, but I tried to reach out actually this week to the folks that lead the user end user group and see if we can get that way to some end. I mean, of course we all talk in our jobs and stuff, but it would be, like a 5-minute presentation, but on a, yeah, I guess I'm a little tiny bit worried. We don't want 1 million people showing up to tell their story and it get out of hand, but a couple would be nice. So yes.
Well, I think the idea would be I think if folks can help us lay down the structure of the blog every time we're done a meeting on this call, and we can write a blog post, and then we can share this on our socials. And I'm also running a LinkedIn group on the platform engineering. I can post that there as well. So having a blog to lay down what we actually discussed on the call today, and what is actually the next agenda for the next call. And if people can join in, and so these are the points we're looking at. Specifically, like to mention the survey. So main point of the doing is a survey. So blog is one way to fill in the gaps for the survey.
Okay. All right, let's keep thinking about that. Maybe let's keep, I mean, if there's somebody that wants to come talk to us, maybe just they could put it in the Slack or just show up and we'll ask them to tell us next time. That's the, if someone new here, we'll ask each person, do you have a story? And, here's maybe next time tell it. Maybe that's a good way to start today. And if they want to chime in Slack and say, oh, I'm coming and I'll tell it today, then that's another possibility.
One technique I've used at another event is called a 99-second talk, and 99-second may or may not be the length we want to go for, but I would say that a short, concise spot to be able to talk about things and making the timer visible to everybody might help with setting expectations without it being rude. With it just being this is the way we do these things, and you have as much visibility into the timing as anyone else, so nobody's cutting you off. It's this is the timer and that kind of thing. Just because I think, yeah, that if those are our goals, that might be some techniques we could use to try and maintain it.
A good strategy. I put that down. I'll try to find a way to run a timer or something here in the corner. That is a good idea. Okay, so thank you. Let's move to the first item in the agenda. So we had a request, and it's, I'm trying to figure out here where to go with it. Alois had developed a masterclass building a kind of prototype platform for progressive delivery, and I think he was kind of suggesting maybe we want to build on it. Leanne, I think you talked with him, so I was hoping maybe you could share what the state is and if we should consider this, and maybe we can all discuss it if we think it's worth pursuing.
Yeah, I would suggest we can discuss it, but let's time box it to let's say 20 minutes, because I don't think we're gonna get to a solution in this discussion. But yeah, I think it's a good point to just start the discussion off. So yeah, Alois has given this workshop on progressive app delivery, and he built this pretty cool platform prototype thingy. And yeah, the idea was what can we do to make this kind of official platform prototype? Now the thing is, as I wrote in the Slack channel, we didn't really discuss the logistics of how to do it, because this is my personal opinion. We had this exact same discussion with Mauricio's prototype, and there is a very good reason why this doesn't go anywhere either. And Alois put this very well, which is he said that things are being maintained when they're being used, and almost by definition, prototypes are not something that people tend to use. People use and maintain products. So already the question is, okay, if we have this prototype, who owns it? Who would maintain it? I think we had this discussion already at KubeCon. We started this discussion. We didn't get to a solution there either. And we were mainly discussing like, what's the value that we actually want to provide? Is it just a showcase, right? A showcase that people can just try, you know, just like, oh, download it and then spin it up on your local environment or somewhere and then just play with it. So if it's something like this, we should probably think about this as a proper open sourcey kind of project, right? Where we have maintainers who probably should be separate from this particular group. It's, to be honest, I feel it's pretty difficult to get this group to do things together for long term. Especially if there's something that needs to be maintained until who knows when, right? We're not planning to throw it away. I mean, the platform maturity matrix, for example, that will be done at some point, and then it's done. Same with the white paper, it's done at some point. I don't see this prototype, this won't ever be done. We have to always come back, update dependencies, maybe replace tools with other tools, I don't know. So that was the biggest thing that we just couldn't figure out how to do. Or find a solution that we think will actually last the test of time. So the other thing that we were discussing was like, okay, what if we don't actually have an actual prototype that is actually workable and usable and touchable, but rather we would do something like, what is your use case? And then we give you like 20 questions, and then we give you like a list of tools that you can check out, or like, I don't know, an architecture diagram or something like that. So something that is not an actual prototype. So we didn't really come to any solution again. It was just more about what is the actual thing that we actually want to give to people, and does it have to be an actual prototype that we cannot guarantee ever will actually be maintained because no one's actually using it as a thing other than a showcase. So this is I would just like open this discussion maybe. If people feel like, oh, it doesn't matter, I'm just gonna like build something. Maybe even saying, okay, on our website, we have this section that is prototype example or like platform examples. And then we put examples in there from, you know, just the way they are right now. We just list the examples, we list Mauricio's thing, we list Alois's thing. We don't give any kind of guarantee that it's working or anything. It's just a platform or a, you know, I don't know how to call it, where people can share their examples. Yeah, so anyone who has an opinion, please, love to hear your thoughts on this.
I'm actually super excited that you came to that conclusion. I kind of felt like we came to that conclusion in Amsterdam. So I actually had already, you know, been thinking down that path. Like, we're not going to be able to maintain these. Like Potato Head, we see the same kind of thing. Like, so instead, let's do them point in time. You know, they last for 6 months. I love the idea of like a showcase. You know, publish it on the blog. The person tells the story here, maybe in this meeting. You know, we all learn from each other. It's like a sandbox project. It's like a way for us to learn from each other.
Yeah, I think that was one of the original motivations for soliciting vendor input too, was kind of give them a place where they can say, how does their platform product meet the white paper and some of the other things there? So giving them a chance to talk about that, as well as say, hey, here's a link to our platform, go try it or something, right? Yeah, I think
one of the things, I think one of the things that we were struggling with was getting to a starting point, and I think those 20 questions and answers to those being the starting point for what you want to showcase and how it relates to the efforts that are ongoing is a great idea. So I'd +1 that heavily.
Yeah, the question is just like, how do we get from the ideas to the thing that it could be something simple like, do you need, I don't know, multi-tenancy on the same cluster? These are tools that you could look into, right? It could be very, like, I'm always for, let's do the simplest thing that we can possibly do, something that's scoped and it's done when it's done. that could be something, right? Where we, but then someone has to like set up that list. Like these tools have these capabilities, so I don't know if it's like a web forum, so someone has to build that as well. So maybe that's even though that seems like the quickest solution, it might not be actually quick.
Hey, I just thought to show this, like, is this like kind of what you're thinking about, Leanne? Like Spring Initializer, where I can go in and add dependencies and I say, oh, I need sessions. So then it recommends something and maybe a little more.
Yeah, that would be I think that would be the most beautiful one, right? And then if you can just like click generate and we'll just create the platform for you. I mean, obviously that would be the greatest thing ever. But yeah, something like that would be cool. Abby?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And I think you're hitting on all the challenges associated with like an open source working group that isn't like building something in anger, right? For a long-term use. I think I hear two different outcomes that are being teased out right now. And I don't know if that's true. So I'm going to try my hand at it. So the first thing is I'm hearing an outcome, which is we've had a lot of conversations about how do you enable people to actually be successful with the capabilities a platform needs to deliver. So how does someone who needs to worry about multi-tenancy like decide between the different CNCF and other open source projects associated with multi-tenancy or associated with persistence or associated with all these things? And I think that like, so that's one of the conversations that I think we want to be getting towards. And this is like those 20 questions and can you make a bit of a like mix and match and make your own thing would be awesome. The other side of it though, the thing that I think when we talk about like the maturity of a platform and platform as a product and things like that, that I'm hearing separately, and maybe I was hearing in Colin's conversation about like giving vendors like the forum to have a conversation about how they are pushing forward the conversation of a mature platform model is different than you can have databases. It's more about the experience of a platform builder and the experience of a platform user. And those would be in my opinion, those are a different set of questions. Those are like, how do I create a brand new application from scratch? How do I manage my application that needs an upgrade? How do I introduce a new capability to my platform? How do I, like, those would be the types of the 20 questions, which are slightly different from the types of the 20 questions like, how do I do multi-tenancy on, or I need to do multi-tenancy on a cluster, how do I do that? Like, so I'm wondering if we're teasing out two different like use cases and therefore two different things, but then that means two different things to maintain. So I'm hoping I'm wrong. So tell me if I am. Yeah, don't know.
No, I agree, Abby. I think those are two different things. Something from like the platform user versus the platform builder. Those are two separate things that we tackle. And I'm not sure if we want to go to the details of providing blocks. That will be more of a product versus the ideas that we're trying to share or the guidance that we're trying to give.
Yeah, I think that you're 100% right. Like the block details are an opportunity, but are they for us? And that it's the experience. So far in the things we've published are very high level, and none of them particularly tell you that like persistence is a must-have in your platform as much as the experience is to reduce the cognitive load on the users of the platform and to enable consistency, enable platform builders to define consistent, secure solutions, right? Like persistence is something that we've articulated as a high likelihood of inclusion in your platform, but like we've stayed a little bit away from being like these are the must-have capabilities and instead said these are the common capabilities. Yeah, but yeah, so I think it's that experience that we're talking about.
Correct, and I don't think we need to go to the low level of implementations. We need to keep it high. Maybe lower the high a little bit, but not too low to the details of what we need. We're just instructing people to do. It will be too much, and it will not fit the majority because each one has their own choices and their own ways of building their platforms.
What if we enabled a way to experiment here? Like, what if we, instead of having to officially bring anything in, but we could start a list of ones that we're aware of, and maybe we pre-rec, like you got to come and present to us for 10 minutes and share the story here. But then, you know, if we're like Alois's, Potato Head, maybe Mauricio's, I haven't seen that in a long time, and they could just be a list on the website, you know, maybe a little blurb about them. And it's just like a loose coupling to begin with. At least, you know, these are things that the group has kind of looked at and think they would be helpful.
Yeah,
Do you
I
wanna
think
put
that's
No, go ahead.
to me that sounds like that actually sounds like the easiest thing to do, because we don't have to do much. We just have to vet them, the tools, put them on the website, maybe tag them, you know, like if we want to talk about multi-tenancy or whatever, we can tag them so people can like filter by tags at least, just to give them a point to start. Because if you just give them a prototype and just say this is a prototype, no one's gonna walk through 3 of them just to see that none of them, you know, help them with the problem that they actually have. That sounds okay. I think we also need to think about, do we want to showcase products, like complete products, or only stuff that is self-built, consistent of multiple projects? That might not be super important either way, but I think we need to at least come up with the list of requirements, like what would we consider to be a platform? What would we consider to be open source enough for us to showcase it on the website or wherever? Yeah, I'm done.
I'd be sort of keen to not completely limit it to open source, especially if we're not taking on any ownership of like owning it or whatever. I think that was one of the benefits of Potato Head. Like, a lot of times the marketing machines behind closed source SaaS products are the ones that are driving the public discourse, and enabling a deeper dive into how those tools actually compare to open source solutions, I think is a really like useful thing to do, because I think that it can identify where like marketing versus reality exists, and where like ease of solution versus roll up your sleeves exists, like why you're paying for the closed source versus what you can, you know, what you can imagine you could build with the open source. Just it involves a bit of elbow grease. Like, I think, I don't know, we don't live in a world where people only use open source, and so I think enabling that conversation across both will, I think, drive a much better industry movement, which is really what we're looking for.
And I think if we start by categorizing the tools, like maybe this tool will fit in persistent, this tool can help you with multi-tenancy, just kind of putting kind of some similar to the landscape, the CNCF landscape, but for the platforms. I think this is a good starting point. And maybe on the next level, if we kind of find this is useful, we can do some kind of comparison of like features. What are the features here? What are the features there? And if you tie that with our recommendation in the papers, the customer will have the way to choose which feature or which product, instead of us just pointing them to specific projects or products.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it as going back to the capabilities of platforms and that map, and being able to maybe start with the CNCF landscape. And we've had conversations in the past about how do we facilitate bringing the different applications or the different components from the landscape together, the different projects, because we know they don't necessarily all work together. I know several of your companies are also doing that internally in your platforms, like as part of the product experience. But to me, it could make sense as a path to go and build an inventory of the landscape projects, or get the projects to help us fill out, and we can give them a list of capabilities that their tools, their products, whatever we want, the projects actually fulfill. So maybe storage, right? Or bind services to workloads like messaging, right? And see which areas there. And focusing on those capabilities might give us a way also to say, hey, you have a vendor solution or another platform. What tools do you currently use underneath the hood, and what like as far as landscape, and what capabilities does your platform fulfill? I've done that in a few places for like minimum viable platform. If you install this product, if you install this platform, it comes with this much coverage of platform capabilities, and then you can add things on top of it. And that's been a really easy way to just basically cherry pick a compatibility matrix or a feature matrix of this is the thing this platform has. but I think that kind of ties the two ends together a little bit. Maybe that leads into the ability to have a tool to build your platform by selecting, okay, I want to see what storage providers are here, what messaging options we have, and build your landscape basically.
Just a small thing from my side is actually right now, actually, there's a two conversation happening all the time when I'm interacting with a lot of the customers that the company have and with the larger community is around one is Kubernetes world and one is non-Kubernetes world. And currently there's a huge customer base that live in the both places, Kubernetes and non-Kubernetes world. One of the things I see while the platform working group for the policy working group is they have so many different options to use policies in Kubernetes. We have OPA, Kyverno, and there's, I think, one from the Rancher as well, and few other as well. What they end up is doing is actually they created a capability matrix. And if you have this scenario, then the Kyverno is the best fit in contrast to you have a different scenario. If we can actually come up with a capability matrix for Kubernetes and non-Kubernetes world, that is a huge we're solving the huge frustration for the customers. Because a lot of the debate is like, currently when I'm actually telling people around the white paper, they mention there's just an open source and the Kubernetes world. How do we actually mix and match those words that can be? So capability matrix, if can define those terminologies, can be a best fit. And now,
yeah, I agree. We see a lot of places where when people are building their platforms, right, or assembling their tools, they use a completely commercial off-the-shelf solution, and they have no idea that it's whether it is or isn't Kubernetes under the hood, and it's totally relevant. I definitely agree.
So I would just like to cut this conversation short because I time boxed it for 20 minutes. We have 2 minutes left, and this is good that we're having this conversation, but it's already starting to derail in like exactly the conversation that doesn't go anywhere to the point where we actually do things. So what I would suggest now, because that seems to me to be like the easiest thing for us to do, is to only provide a space for whoever wants to showcase their platform. So if I have a platform tool or a platform that I've built, whatever, here's a chance for you to showcase it on our website. And it would basically be like a CFP for a conference. You come in, you propose like, I wanna show this. You need to like explain it a little bit, write some text, whatever. You show it to this group, or you can just, I don't even think it needs to be in this meeting. Like if you just want to send it via GitHub issue or like pull request, that would be fine with me. So we will vet it a bit. We will say like, okay, this is good enough. It has all the points that we think are important. And then we put it on the website, and we don't, the tagging, we just like all of that, we leave to the person who's submitting it, right? If they want to make it more visible by using proper tagging, by really like, going very deep into the stuff, let them do it. If they don't want to do it, then we don't do it. I mean, it's whatever, like having something is better than not having anything. Yeah, Victor.
Just a sort of question. Is it even possible to build a standalone platform, in other words, private cloud, with Kubernetes alone without virtual machine or hardware only platform? So that's just a question at this point. So we can answer here, but that's just when people decide to build platform, is that even possible?
Like
bare metal one for us. I mean, it seems like any kind of platform we would consider, like, if it's based on VMs and you can show a, Terraform based platform with VMs, like, seems reasonable too.
For example, the 5G world, the telecom world, I believe it's mostly it's a mix of virtual machine and VM and containers, Kubernetes. So I don't know, is there any pure Kubernetes-based implementation at all at this point?
Yeah, there's some things in telecom.
Pure container Nothing bare metal, nothing virtual machine.
Well,
at
I
all?
mean, bare metal is going to be underneath the hood on all of it. It's got to run on something.
Yeah, what I mean is without container, basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you offline.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean.
So do we have, I think what Leanne said is a great place to start. Let's get something going. You know, we can still vet based on PRs. If they come flying in and we have 50, then amazing. We probably will only get 1 or 2. So, you know, at least to start, I think that's a good plan. I mean, we've got some ideas in here that we can iterate on from those first few.
Yeah, we can start with the 2 that we already have and wanted to do, the progressive delivery stuff, and then the Mauricio's platform. I'm just going to call it Mauricio's platform now. So we could start and figure out like, okay, what would be a good format to present them, which is actually perfect because that leads us to the next, the other conversation, which is about the website. Because then once we get this, the new structure merged, then we can start adding new stuff to it.
I love it. Start by looking at those 2. What do they have in common? How could we ask for more contributions? Put that up as the call to action with those 2 under it. And as people ask, well, can I do it like this? We can add that to the context for the call to action and more examples if it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, I will put the result of this discussion just with the current idea we're having. I will put that in the issue. There's a GitHub issue for platforms prototypes, and I'll just add it there as a comment.
Thank you, Leanne. That's awesome. Thank you for taking the initiative to put it in. I'll link the issue in this chat here in our notes. Number 293. Okay. Yeah, so the next thing on the agenda is discuss helping with project annual reviews. So yeah, let me find a good link to share with you all. So in last week's TOC meeting, we went over the project annual reviews. I think this is the right link. Yeah. So right now the backlog is pretty big. It's usually not this big, but these are sandbox projects, and one of the requirements, and if somebody is really deep in the details, you know, correct me, but this is the general idea. Every year they have to get an annual review. It doesn't seem like it's super deep technically. It's a lot of process, make sure they have contributors and significant growth and the right, you know, people involved. So they want to consistently delegate these to tags. In this round, you know, some might get shifted around, but there are 4 that are tagged for tag app delivery here. Ones that might be relevant to us in this group: Sealer, which is something for secrets, CDK8S, which is like a Pulumi-like kind of programming interface for configuring infrastructure, probably preaching to the choir. And then Porter and ORAS, which actually I kind of want to go to the artifacts group maybe and ask them about that, although they might have a vested interest in ORAS. That's OCI Registry as a Service, something like that. So I guess I just wanted to mention, like, it's right now it's kind of informal. There's some processes in, let's see, I should have posted the issue in talk. I didn't put that in there. Let me find that. Here's I want to share the issue where the process is getting ironed out. So the exact things that people would need to look for, I'll post it in the chat and I'll post it in the notes too. So yeah, that kind of describes, you know, what you need to do. We kind of need people to just take a look at the 4, I mean, especially for tag app delivery. If there's one that you want to volunteer to follow this process for, help us, you know, it's the first time, so it's going to be a little bit of, you know, rough edges. Help us define the process. Consider it. The goal is that you shouldn't have to spend more than a couple hours although, you know, this first round might be a little bit more. Yeah. If you want, you know, more details, you can listen to the talk meeting last week that was recorded, you know, what they're looking for, or the chats on those docs or chats in Slack, you know, where we're trying to iron out this process. So I just wanted to share. If anyone has any questions, I'll pause for a second.
What's the deadline for these again?
So if you're willing to pick one up, tell us by the end of the month. So by, let's say, August 1st, I think we want to start the reviews. Otherwise, I think the talk, Emily, will start delegating them to first comers from any tag. That's the plan.
So Josh, like, is any information like what is there a document? What is actually the review? Like, what is we need to review the documentation of all the processes? Like, I'm actually wanted your opinion, like what the review means actually in general.
There's, you've
Because
seen that thing I just posted. There's a high level idea of what has to be done. And then there's a doc in development. Let's see if I can find the link to that. Yes, link to draft. Deep in there, but I can post that here too. And give you an idea of what we're asking. You scroll down, I guess, to this heading, conducting annual reviews of sandbox projects. That's kind of the process. Yeah, I'll just share really quick. So tag leadership assigns an individual. I basically said I can't assign anybody. I'm looking for volunteers. Here's a little discussion about that. Here's what you have to do. Those 6 criteria, kind of assess them. We do expect, I think we do expect that the project will give you some information to start with. This is all in the annual reviewer. Then the annual reviewer drafts a recommendation. Is it continuing progress towards incubation? And then basically share it with the tag leads and with our talk liaison, which is Justin Cormack for us. You know, if there's any concerns, then, you know, maybe we have to spend a little more time on it. If it's pretty straightforward, then it just, you know, gets approved and goes through. Yep. So I guess. Yeah, so we do really need volunteers. I'll be honest, like I'm not great at asking for things. So I'm recruiting folks. Like if you can volunteer, it would be amazing. And you know, it's a good opportunity to show contribution here. You know, if you're passionate about one of these projects, you probably get to interact with some of their maintainers some. You know, get a chance to meet Justin and folks if you want in the talk. So please consider it.
Can we choose the project that we're reviewing?
Of those, I mean, I would hope, like, we have the 4 for app delivery, so like maybe choose one of those first. But yeah, if you have a real passion for one of the ones in tag runtime or security, I think they're looking for folks too, so you could offer over in their channels.
I'm just really confused. There's a list of reviews for 2022. Those are not the ones, right? Those are the ones that are already done. I'm just really confused about like the actual.
No, I think that list is they're all open. This 36, but most of them are
okay.
tag runtime, tag network, tag security.
Okay, I'm just confused because they say 2022, but these are the ones that we're supposed to do.
Yeah,
okay.
These are the ones. I don't know why it says 2022. Maybe they're just delayed, which makes sense. That's why they're asking us to do them. If you go to like tag runtime in CNCF Slack, there's, trying to find the thread. Then there's a thread there where they have a PDF, sorry, an Excel spreadsheet going. There it is. I'll just share this link. Here's the straight link to Nikita's work. She's been trying to iron out a process for tag runtime and tag storage. And I think that she has a spreadsheet somewhere there. Yes. Okay, the spreadsheet. Here it is. So let's see. Yeah, so like look what they did, and I'm totally open that if anybody wants to help with this, be great. Like, yeah, I need help. Like here's the tag runtime spreadsheet they made. And so at the very far right, you see the tag contributor that's assigned themselves to it. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to find folks, I think. So if you want to help them, I'm sure that's welcome too.
Josh, a quick question. Like previously, I'm working on the Parallels open source project, and this project is recently accepted as a CNCF sandbox project in, I think, last year December. And this meaning like now newer project is now becoming a CFCF sandbox, or being they actually required all the steps they needed to be taken, and we want them to review it, to look at their status, how much of the criteria they met for the exception. So that's I can volunteer because I already know some of the steps. But if that's different from this, then might be I have to learn about it.
Yeah, it's I don't know 1,000%. I have to look over the docs, but I'm sure your experience would be helpful. It's not that different from the original criteria. You're gonna have to submit one for Parallels probably too. I guess not for another 6 months or something. But we also wouldn't, like, to that point, we wouldn't necessarily allow a maintainer of something to review that one. At least that's the idea. Okay, moving on. I did put at the end of the notes here, just a couple, please take a looks. One is the one that Leanne mentioned, the PR for the new website. Leanne, I asked Chris, but he's in New Zealand, so it'll probably be tomorrow, to regenerate the site so we could just test that all the links work and stuff. Otherwise, I mean, it looks good to me. That other people take a look. And then we have a platforms maturity model deep dive on Thursday, which Abby's going to be facilitating. So I put the link in there, you know, RSVP if you want, or just show up on the Zoom.
Quick reminder that this one will be looking at how we align on the model changes. And one of the things for facilitation is I understand that different people think differently. And everyone will have been coming at this from looking at an existing model and trying to evolve it. And so as a part of facilitation for this session, anybody's welcome to put an example model into a Google Drive as like a starter for 10 for the conversation. So rather than feeling like you need to evolve something that already exists, if you want to start from scratch, taking on board all the things that we've learned for the last couple months, like that works. And then that will give potentially airspace to new conversations that maybe would be harder through an evolutionary technique. So don't feel like you have to, but just know that that's open if it's something that you're interested in.
Okay, that's the end of our agenda. Does anyone have anything else to talk about from what we've talked about now, or anything else? Got a couple more minutes. All right, then. I guess I'll see you all online. Thank you so much for your contributions, and any questions, let me know or ping in the Slack. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful
Bye.
day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.